In the early hours of October 21st, 1600, the largest samurai army ever assembled, poised for a battle that would forever change the course of Japan. This was not just any conflict, it was the end of the Sengoku era, a time when the land was torn by civil war. The Battle of Sekigahara stands as a pivotal moment in Japanese history. The stakes were monumental, for the victor would seize control of Japan and shape its future for centuries to come. Come with us as we explore the background of the Battle of Sekigahara, digging into the series of friendships and betrayals, the ups and downs of powerful clans, and the moments that determined the end of an era. First, we must go back to the beginning. In the late 16th century, Japan found itself engulfed in a period of profound political upheaval and military conflict, known as the Sengoku period, or the Warring States period. This era was characterized by the disintegration of central authority and the rise of powerful warlords known as daimyo. The Ashikaga shogunate, which had provided a semblance of centralized rule since the 14th century, began to weaken in the latter half of the 15th century due to internal strife and external threats. By the late 1500s, the Ashikaga shogunate had lost much of its power and influence, leading to a power vacuum that was quickly filled by ambitious daimyo eager to conquer. Amidst the chaos, two towering figures ascended to the forefront, casting their formidable shadows over the land in a relentless pursuit of power: Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Tokugawa Ieyasu, a shrewd and cunning leader, hailed from a powerful samurai family with deep roots in the region of Mikawa. Throughout the Sengoku period, Ieyasu skillfully navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries, steadily expanding his influence over eastern Japan. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, although born into a peasant family, rose through the ranks of the Oda clan to become one of Japan's most formidable military leaders. Following the death of Oda Nobunaga, Hideyoshi seized power and solidified his control over much of central Japan. He was known for his strategic brilliance, his ability to rally troops, and his innovative tactics, such as the effective use of firearms and castle construction. Toyotomi Hideyoshi would pass away in 1598, and despite Hideyoshi's efforts to establish a stable succession, his young son proved to be an inadequate heir, leading to a power struggle among his top generals. Chaos would ensue among Japan's elite, and the rivalry between the Toyotomi clan and the Tokugawa clan would finally come to a head. Hideyoshi had attempted to ensure a smooth succession by appointing a council of 5 regents to govern on behalf of his young son, Hideyori. However, this arrangement quickly unraveled as rival factions saw an opportunity to take power. 2 primary factions emerged in the aftermath of Hideyoshi's death. On one side were Toyotomi loyalists, led by figures such as Ishida Mitsunari, who sought to uphold Hideyoshi's legacy and protect the interests of his heir, Toyotomi Hideyori. On the other side were supporters of Tokugawa Ieyasu, who viewed this instability as an opportunity to advance their ambitions and challenge the Toyotomi supremacy. Ishida Mitsunari, a trusted advisor to the deceased Hideyoshi, emerged as a key figure among the Toyotomi loyalists. Recognizing the threat posed by Tokugawa Ieyasu's growing influence, Mitsunari sought to rally support from other daimyo and consolidate his position. He engineered alliances with several powerful clans, including the powerful western daimyo, Mori Terutomo, in an effort to counter the Tokugawa threat. Meanwhile, Tokugawa Ieyasu, who had been biding his time in the eastern provinces, carefully assessed the shifting political landscape. Sensing an opportunity to challenge the Toyotomi regime, Ieyasu began forming alliances of his own, reaching out to disaffected daimyo and leveraging his reputation as a skilled negotiator and strategist. As Japan's mightiest warlords took sides, tensions rose as forces on both sides began mobilizing in preparation for a decisive confrontation. The stage was set for an epic showdown between Toyotomi loyalists, who commanded a larger army but faced internal divisions, and the Tokugawa coalition, which boasted superior strategic coordination and tactical acumen. The lead-up to the battle commenced in Ishidara Mitsunari's home, Sawayama Castle. An alliance of Toyotomi loyalists formed. At this meeting, Ishida met with Otani Yoshitsugu, Mashita Nagamori, and Ankokuji Eke. Together, they allied and requested the powerful daimyo Mori Terutomo lead them. This coalition became known as the Western Army. Mori quickly took control of Osaka Castle to use as their headquarters, as most of Tokugawa's forces were elsewhere. Ishida aimed to reinforce Mori at Osaka Castle to control Tokyo and challenge Tokugawa's power. To do this, he planned to use Gifu Castle as a base to advance towards Kyoto, which was under the control of his ally Oda Hidenobu. Meanwhile, in Edo, Tokugawa Ieyasu learned about the situation in the Kansai region and decided to mobilize his forces. He personally led 30,000 men, with another 40,000 under his subordinates, forming what would later be called the Eastern Army. Some former Toyotomi daimyo were tasked with engaging the Western Army, while Ieyasu split his troops and headed west towards Osaka. As the Tokugawa army moved towards Gifu Castle, Ishida was delayed at Fushimi Castle, a Tokugawa stronghold. Ishida couldn't risk leaving enemies behind, so he attacked Fushimi, taking 10 days to capture it. By then, Gifu Castle had fallen, forcing Ishida to retreat southward in the rain. Ishida and his troops reached Okagi Castle by mid-October 1600, just as Tokugawa's army arrived nearby at Mino Akasaka. Initially, the Eastern Army had 75,000 men, compared to the Western Army's 120,000 men. Ieyasu also brought arquebus long guns with his forces. Anticipating Tokugawa's movement toward Osaka, Ishida decided to abandon his position and march to Sekigahara. At the break of dawn on October 21st, 1600, the Tokugawa advance guard stumbled upon Ishida's army. Thick fog, lingering from an earlier rain, obscured visibility, causing both sides to be unaware of each other's presence initially. Startled by the unexpected encounter, both sides hastily retreated, but the encounter had revealed the proximity of their adversaries. Maintaining his defensive stance, Ishida held his position, while Ieyasu strategically positioned his forces to the south of Ishida's army. Ieyasu arranged his allies' troops in a line at the forefront, reserving his own forces as a backup. As the clock approached 8 a.m., a gust of wind swept away the lingering fog, revealing the positions of both armies to each other. With this newfound clarity, last-minute commands were issued, and the battle commenced. Unknown to the Toyotomi loyalists, a major betrayal had taken place in their camp that would not be realized until the battle had started. The defection of key Western daimyo from the Toyotomi camp to Tokugawa's side was a pivotal moment in the events leading up to the Battle of Sekigahara. The main defectors included Kawa Hiroie and Kobayakawa Hideyaki. Kobayakawa Hideyaki, a powerful daimyo from the Chugoku region, initially pledged allegiance to the Toyotomi cause and was a key supporter of Ishida Mitsunari. However, as tensions escalated, Hideyaki began to reassess his position. He was approached by Tokugawa agents who promised him favorable terms and rewards in exchange for switching sides. Despite the risk, Hideyaki ultimately agreed. Similarly, Kikawa Hiroie, another influential daimyo in western Japan, initially supported the Toyotomi clan. However, as the political landscape shifted, Hiroie began to question the viability of the Toyotomi regime. He too was approached by Tokugawa agents, who offered him assurances of protection in exchange for defection. Ultimately, Hiroie decided to switch sides as well. These defections significantly weakened the Toyotomi faction and bolstered Tokugawa's position, which would ultimately shape the outcome of the Battle of Sekigahara before it even started. Kobayakawa Hideyaki, one of the daimyo who had been courted by Tokugawa, did not betray the western side until the battle began. Kobayakawa's forces launched an assault on Otani's position. Otani's troops, armed with dry gunpowder, were able to retaliate against the defectors, significantly reducing the effectiveness of the charge, which consisted of 16,000 men. However, at the time of Kobayakawa's charge, Otani's forces were already engaged in battle against troops led by Todo Takatora and Oda Yoraki. With additional pressure from Kobayakawa's attacks, the buffer established by Otani was overwhelmed and outnumbered. Recognizing the dire situation, more daimyos from the Western Army switched sides, thus shifting the momentum of the battle. Despite fierce resistance from Toyotomi loyalists, Tokugawa Ieyasu's army managed to exploit weaknesses in the enemy lines and gain the upper hand. The tide of battle turned decisively in Tokugawa's favor when Ishida Mitsunari's vanguard was caught off guard and routed by a surprise attack led by Tokugawa's son, Tokugawa Hidetada. As the day wore on, the momentum shifted decisively in favor of Tokugawa Ieyasu, with key tactical maneuvers and the defection of former Toyotomi allies tipping the balance in his favor. In a last-ditch effort to turn the tide, Ishida Mitsunari launched a desperate counterattack, but it was ultimately in vain. Ishida's last remaining forces took refuge on Mount Nangu, a strategic position chosen for its defensibility. Among the commanders on the mountain was Kikawa Hiroie, whose troops formed the front line of the Mori army, led by his cousin Mori Hidemoto. Earlier, when Hidemoto ordered an attack on the Tokugawa forces, Hiroie refused, claiming to be preoccupied with eating and requesting to be left alone. This refusal also prevented the Chosokabe army, positioned behind the Mori clan, from engaging in the attack. When Ishida eventually arrived at Mount Nangu, Kikawa betrayed him as well. By keeping the Mori army neutral, and with Ishida lacking any further support, his forces were defeated. The Western army disintegrated afterwards, with the commanders scattering and fleeing. Ishida himself was later executed. The Battle of Sekigahara marked a significant turning point in Japanese history. It brought an end to the Sengoku period of internal strife and paved the way for the establishment of the Tokugawa shogunate. Tokugawa Ieyasu's triumph in the battle facilitated the creation of a centralized government, ushering in an era of peace over 2 centuries known as the Edo period. This era witnessed extensive political restructuring, the development of infrastructure fostering economic stability, the flourishing of traditional arts, and the implementation of isolationist policies aimed at limiting foreign influence. This ends our deep dive into the Battle of Sekigahara that shaped the future of Japan. But there's so much more to the story of the triumphant Tokugawa Ieyasu. For a closer look, check out this deep dive into the incredible story of the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu.